Hi, today I'd like to show you a new control that's been added to iOS 5, UIStepper. So here we have a really simple app. It just has a few items that we want to be able to add to our cart. But not only do we want to be able to add an individual item, we'd like to control how many items we add. So in the past, you might set up a text view that the user could edit, but then that gets tricky because you have to control how the keyboard looks. You have to make sure they enter a valid number. You don't want them to enter a negative number. Or an alternative would be that you might want to create your own little stepper control so they can go up and down and set the number. Well, now that's built right into iOS. So let's just update this app to add a little stepper control next to each one of these counts, and then the user can control exactly how many items are in their cart. So let's go into the app here. I'll go into the XIB for this view controller here. So now if you go into objects and search for stepper, there's this new stepper control. So let's add that here. And if you look, you can set a number of things here. The minimum value, in our case, we'd like that to be 0. Obviously, you can't add negative items. A maximum value, 100 might be a bit high. We can set that to 10. Current, it'll start at 0. That's correct. And step by 1, that's good too. All right. So let's just add a few copies of this for each one of these items. Okay, great. So we want to be notified when somebody changes the count by pressing plus or minus. So the best way to do that is with the event value changed. So let's update the view controller that we have here and set those actions. So we're going to have an IB action, call it, say, apples changed. And let's make a copy of that for each one of our items. All right, one thing we can do here, and I'm using Xcode 4.2, is you can actually link between an XIB and source code in this one window here. You can see up in editor, I made this change here for what they call the assistant editor. So what I can actually do, I'm pressing the control key right now, I can click from the stepper and drag into the header file and make this connection. By default, the connection that's made here is for value changed, which is what we want. So we've done that for this. Let's change bananas to go there. Grapes and oranges. All right, great. So now let's implement these methods here. All right, so what do we want to do? Let's just have it update the label that's next to the stepper for each one as it gets changed. All right. So we have, in this case, an apples label. We want to set its text. So what do we want to set the text to? Well, sender here is a UIStepper. It has a value, which is actually a double. So we don't want it to look like a double. We don't want it to say 1.0. We actually want it to be 1. So, and then we want that integer to be turned into a string. So it gets a little long here. Let's have a string. We're going to have a string with format. We're going to give it an integer, so we use D. All right, and how do we get out an integer? Well, why don't we take an NS number, initialize it with a double. The double is going to be value that comes out of sender. So since it's given as an ID, we have to cast it as a stepper. We have sender, take its value. So that's going to be a double. We're going to pass that to NS number. And then out of NS number, we want to add, we want to get out the int value. So there's that, and that should set our apples label. So let's just repeat this for the other two. This is how we want to get the bananas label. Grapes. And oranges. All right. Let's try running that. So now we've got our steppers here, and if we go up or down, the count gets updated. We can't go below 0, and we can't go above 10. Thanks for watching. I hope you found this useful. For more tips and tutorials, check out iOSDevNotes.com.